I wanted to give a quick overview of the Proxmox V environment UI. I don't think a lot of customers have seen it before. Um, Many have seen Overt, for instance, for KVM. Probably anybody reading my blog has obviously worked with VMware. This one's a little bit different. Remember, you've got, okay, so you have VMware, which you have your ESXi hypervisor, you have your vCenter, which controls it. In the KVM world, you have KVM is already built into the kernel on Linux, and so you need a management interface. I've done Overt in both in blog and my paper, although I've mentioned other ones you can use instead to manage the KVM setup. Proxmox is not just simply one of those management options for KVM. It's its own ISO that you install on bare metal, right? Ostensibly, it's doing the same thing with a little bit more bells and whistles, but it is its own implementation on top of bare metal. It's not a hypervisor, but it does install its own Debian version, right? So unlike KVM, where you can have different flavors of Linux, you can't do that in Proxmox. It's already pre-configured on Debian. That certainly presents challenges for us, let's say in the PowerFlex space, because then you can't, we don't support SDC on Debian after 3. So in versions 4.x, there's no Debian SDC. So you're not going to be able to use block storage with it, which is a big deal for us. In the PowerMax space, we can use all the flavors, NFS, iSCSI, and Fiber Channel. Although there is some massaging you have to do to get it into the Proxmox environment. So let's just log in. So first thing you'll get is a no valid subscription if you don't have one, which I don't for the test environment. We'll just click through that and we'll jump up to the server view. Here you have all these different menu options down here. I'm not going to go through them all, but you can see you have, basically the options you expect. Some different ones. It can do replication. So Proxmox has a replication host-based, so I could replicate something between these particular servers. You have to have 2 servers to do it. You have Ceph here you can install if you want that on the node. And then the clustering. So you can see I have 2 nodes here. When you install Proxmox, you're doing it on each individual node, but you can create a cluster on one of those nodes. You'll see this join information. If any of you have used Kubernetes, this reminds me of, when you add a worker and you provide the join information. And so in the other node, you would go in and say join cluster, you'd give it that information, and then eventually it would bring over the server into here. You can log into either server and you'll get to see both of them, kind of like when you have an enhanced link mode in vCenters where you can log into either and see them. The storage is done at the cluster level here. This is the list of all the different types of storages that you can add, focused obviously on the type of formatting here mostly, but you'll see the things you're familiar with for KVM, where there's a cluster, there's iSCSI. You can even have add an ESXi host here. What you're not going to see here though is block level fiber channel, right? iSCSI is there, but not fiber channel. In the KVM world, we can add fiber channel directly through like an Overt interface. You can't do that here. When it comes to fiber channel, you have to do a number of steps to put a logical volume manager on it first, and then you can ingest it that way through logical volumes. So you can see here, like here's a logical volume I created for this PMAX1, and so here's where you would ingest it. That has to be done first, and then set it to shared. So I have one of those here. For instance, I have a PowerMax fiber channel. Later in the blog, I have a video of this also. And then it makes it, if you click the box, it's shareable, and so it's available on both sites. Availability of shared storage, then if I have for instance, a virtual machine, I can take that virtual machine and then migrate it right back and forth. So here, if I want to migrate this online mode, real time, I can do that. It has this nice task viewer, which will come and tell you how long it takes to migrate, right? This is kind of nice. I like it better than vCenter just giving you percentages. Here it tells you task okay, done, and then I have it running on the other side now. You can do the same thing for the LXE containers, right? So if you want to move a container, the difference with the container, I'm not going to move it, but I will show you the migration, is that the motors restart. So if you move the container, it's actually going to stop the container and then just restart it on the other node. Obviously, this is also on the Fiber Channel shared storage. Right? Creation of virtual machines, similar to what you're used to. If you do the KVM world, you upload images to the environment, and then you go through and provide whatever parameters you want to create it. Similarly, for a container, now this is one of the things you'll not get inside of, let's say, overt for KVM, the integration here of the containers. So you're able to pull down, let me just get to the next template here. So you come into the template screen, and in the template screen here, you have the ability to choose different templates and create containers instead of virtual machines if you want to. So this is a nice capability that you're not going to get out of KVM or really VMware, where you can have these lightweight environments set up and running. If I were to go into one of the local AVMs, local environments here, you'll see the ISO images. So here's where I could upload my images to make them available. Similar to overt, works in the same way. And then the containers are also same idea. You can go in and set up different images for the containers, either download them or upload them, whichever you want to make them available. And they're this same type of thing, right? So here I can download them from a particular URL. I can grab templates that are already out there, and then just tell it to download it and then make it available for creation. Right? Networking, works the same way. You've got a bridge and for the management interface, and then generally it's the same bridge you're going to use for virtual machines. It's a little bit more manual for this stuff, but it's the exact same way that the KVM stuff works. So just kind of a high level, just to give you an idea of what Proxmox looks like in comparison to other virtualization interfaces.